And welcome to our annual Halloween version of the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast. I'm Sergio Paradise, and I'm joined as always by a man who you'll be able to see tomorrow night knocking on front doors and asking for whiskey. It's Titus O'Reilly.
Annual Halloween special.
I just thought that it's Halloween tomorrow.
You know, a lot of Australians get upset about Halloween.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it's American and all this. But if you're a kid,
it's huge.
You get to hang out with your friends, get dressed, and get all the lollies in the world.
Bucket of free lollies.
So, like, people go, I can't believe it's taking off. I'm like, I can't believe it hasn't taken off. Like,
I'm not a big fan of Halloween, but not in that ideological sense. I couldn't care less that it's American and this and that. I just get annoyed with all the kids coming to the door.
You just hate kids.
Yeah, I mean, you know, every year on the 31st of October, I take the battery out of my doorbell. but I like to stand out the front for a while. So when the kids come to the front door, there's no answer, but they all look at each other and go, I'm sure he's here. I mean, he's just not answering the door.
You're the one that does the trick on them straight away, you're saying. We should start off by just saying, I was running a bit late to record this because I got breath tested.
Did you?
Yeah, on the way here.
We should point out that it's not quite even lunchtime yet.
I know, it was hilarious.
How did you go? Did you pass?
They must have recognised me. That must have been while they pulled me over.
Or did you do a runner?
Did it have been cousins?
We're just waiting for the SWAT team to come through the front door.
Yeah, there's a bit of tension. No, I passed just by pure luck. No, I'd never drink and drive, so it was amazing though. It was I haven't had that for a little while.
No, I got breath tested not that long ago on for our Melbourne listeners on South Road in Brighton at 8:45 a.m. And I said to the cop, I said, mate, you wouldn't get too many now.
I bet he does.
He goes, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So there you go. So now
I like how you acted surprised.
Yeah, and now I start. I start drinking at 9:30, not 8:30 now.
Ton of news breaking at the moment. We should mention just up the front, or a couple of things that have sort of happened recently. We'll get into the cricket stuff because
that's massive.
That's huge. Colin Sylvia passed away.
That was pretty
Sunday
sad, wasn't
night.
it? Yeah, I saw it on Twitter Sunday night, and I thought, I hope this isn't true, but it sort of, as it turns out, it was.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of detail around the car accident itself, except it seems to have been a huge car accident.
Yeah, apparently
between him and another guy.
This morning, he crashed into the car of his best mate up there. They'd been out yabbing or fishing, and they went into an intersection, or I don't know the details.
Yeah,
but, pretty unfortunate.
There's a bunch of media on that today and yesterday about that. We should add that Winx won on the weekend as well.
Travelling okay, still the mayor.
That's got to be 4 straight Cox plates.
That'll never happen again.
That's right up there with Mackay winning the 3
Melbourne Cups. Well, you'd think so. I mean, I heard somebody arguing about this, saying, well, at weight for age,
here we go.
My special subject, it's fairly predictable that the best horse will continue to win, while the Melbourne Cup being a handicap, they made it harder for Mackay Diva every year, and still she won, so possibly.
And it's such a big field and such a long race.
Like 24 horses,
I mean, it looked amazing with Winx. You could tell halfway through that race that she had it. She was because she wasn't boxed in. Like the run before, she was boxed in. But
there was one before,
she was just perfectly placed the whole time, and you didn't even really feel that.
No, there was never much pressure. Yeah, the one before, the Guineas, you really, even the 200 metres out, you thought, this could be the one where she gets knocked off. But the Cox plate, as soon as they came round at the 500 metre mark, sitting out perfectly, I thought, nothing's going to catch it from here.
Yeah.
It was. And we should be the only horse, I reckon. Even, I guess Black Caviar towards the end of their reign, but is the only horse I whenever she's running, I actually make a point of watching the race live. Yeah, well, it does feel like I'm no big punter. I wouldn't have the faintest idea, but it's just such a great story.
Yeah, no, it's a huge thing, and it definitely a massive amount of interest in it. And you going to any of the cups or the races?
I'm not. No. sitting at home.
Because of legal trouble? Because he's not legally allowed to go on race courses?
I've always been a bit puzzled by that phrase, warned off.
Yeah, you're being warned off. That in the casino. You can be warned off both the casino and the racetracks.
And that ankle bracelet doesn't help.
Ankle bracelet does not... Does not. It fits you in some way.
And the 500 metres of schools, you put them all together.
You can barely. It's amazing you can go anywhere. Tim Byrne wrote in. Apparently, Winks is a great Australian. If Winks got caught with 3 stallions and an illegal quantity of oats, would the good bloke rule apply since she's a mare?
You've been thinking about this, Tim, haven't you?
He's been thinking about it. I kind of with a shameless plug, my new book about. The good blokes of Australia. I do raise the question, can women be good blokes?
Well,
is it going to happen? Dawn Fraser comes to mind. Yeah. Well, Dawn Fraser comes to mind, and I'm pretty disappointed with the women athletes of Australia in the main, in that they've all been pretty well behaved and pretty just thankful. Yeah. And they're someone said today, I was listening to the radio, and someone said, this cricket stuff, I can't believe the women's team's been dragged into it. And I'm like, well, only as a positive, as a positive counterpoint to the men, not as a negative.
Yeah. Well, you're right about Australian women sports people as a general rule. I mean, you could say Dawn Fraser, she could probably fill the lovable larrikin kind of description.
Yeah, she'd come off as a good bloke.
Yeah, but for actual, complete and utter criminality or stupidity, Australian sportswomen pretty thin on the ground, you'd have to say.
Well, they haven't been given the opportunities. This is hopefully what the various codes of giving them big push will enable, give them the platform to do silly things.
AFLW won't be fully accepted until Daisy Pearce gets caught,
doing
something really stupid.
Well, Michelle Payne, the cup-winning jockey, got caught taking a prohibitive substance, remember?
That's true.
But her apology, she said, this is all my fault, I take full responsibility. And I was like, that's not how you do it, Michelle. You've got to blame your mum or, or your dad in this case, or you've got to, you've got to have...
Anyone was offended,
Yeah.
Maybe if Winks changes code, does a Usain
to greyhound racing.
Yeah, she might struggle to fit in the box.
Winks is always on to try ice, so she goes over to the greyhound racing. The Cricket Australia now, I want to thank Cricket Australia, launching a book about sports scandals on Monday. And what happens is Cricket Australia released their own book on sports scandal, this report. This report is absolutely damning. This is the cultural review.
Well, see, this is the first thing that surprised me, that it was damning. Because normally when a big organisation investigates itself, it's a whitewash.
Reading between the lines, and this could be conspiracy theory, but one, I think they had no choice. They came under, if you remember at the time, they denied, and it got to the point where Pever was forced, David Pever, the chairman, was forced to come out and say, all right, we'll do an ethics review. Yeah. And I think he was under such pressure from government, because remember the Australian Sports Commission had written and said, they were very unhappy with the handling, and the government had said they were unhappy, and all the various stakeholders had said they're unhappy. So I think, one, they got forced to do this.
Yeah.
Two, I think what they'd planned was they knew they couldn't not release it, so we'll release it, and we'll, by that point they have the TV deal locked in. They had announced Sutherland was going. They had announced Pat Howard was going. So I think the board, especially Pever, thought, now we'll put out the report, say mea culpa, lots of learnings, we're not covering things up.
And
then
get lost in the wash.
And then be able to say, but new management team, Sutherland's gone, Howard's gone.
Good governance starts now.
Good governance starts now. And I think the problem that's happened is it's so damning, but also Cricket Australia have had such a tin ear on this from the beginning, on how the general public is feeling, that Pever now has actually himself become the target.
Yeah.
And now he was the guy that said, when this all happened, now is not the time for witch hunts. Because people were saying, so how did they get the sandpaper? Had they done this before? And they refused to answer those questions, remember? Like,
and they're basic questions.
And that's not witch hunts.
Yeah, that's just your standard
That's right.
simple question, you know?
That's right. So it's not that surprising that the pressures come on them like this, because the Australian Cricket Association held their press conference this morning and they've asked for the bans to be lifted now, and they said it's harsh enough and this is new evidence that clears them. But once again, in sport, it's like your kids. They say, if you say you're guilty of X, they go, well, so-and-so did it too.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that doesn't make you less, that doesn't water down the guilt.
Doesn't absolve you of what
of
you
anything,
did,
you know. And the players, to me, just because it now is shown that the culture around them is toxic, and we all knew that, that just means that how is Peaver, how is James Sutherland not been, why weren't these guys moved on? The real crux of this, and I've said this before, is this is a body that appointed David Warner to be vice captain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you need to know.
And
that's not with the benefit of hindsight. We all knew that at the time.
Well in advance of that decision being made. But even in the last 24 hours, they've just, I mean, you say they've had a tin ear from day one. There is still there's less tin ears in the Wizard of Oz. I mean, just the
that sounds like I'm sure you just made that up, but it sounds like an old-timey saying.
Yeah, it does. But you see, I mean, they come out one of the people pluck out phrases from the review.
Yeah.
But of course, arrogant and self-centered is one phrase that they've used.
Yeah.
And then in the last 24 hours, to their credit, they've maintained consistency. Yeah. And like Peaver has just been, his whole response has been arrogant and self-centered to this whole thing. I mean, I don't know if you saw him with Lee Sales on the ABC last
terrible
night.
Train wreck. I tweeted it.
Absolute.
Joe Aston tweeted it, sent it out, and I retweeted that. So it's on my feed there as a retweet, and it is just a train wreck.
Oh, I mean, it was just, and in the Australian this morning, Gideon Haigh, who's, without doubt Australia's best cricket writer and probably commentator, I mean, he said the same thing. He just, by not answering the questions and just going with sort of rote media speak, it just proved once again.
Well, Peaver's position is untenable. I mean, he's the only man he's the only one that doesn't know it.
Yeah, but having your position untenable in the public eye when you're an Australian sports administrator, doesn't mean a lot. They rarely
no, but
get
I think
moved on.
I think he's as untenable with sponsors and other the big shareholders that they listen to. What I loved is they getting to the report itself. One, they pushed Tim Payne out as, I know he's Australian captain, but to respond to a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, this guy's had the least to do with it all.
Yeah.
Like,
he was thrown.
I know he's the Australian captain and all that, but putting him up was another attempt to dodge it because he had nothing to do with any of it. Then you've got, it said arrogant, entitled and self-centred. It said that the culture of Cricket Australia, was there were gilded bubbles that the elite players lived in going through the game's pathway. They said that people often spoke about elite male players operating in a bubble that neither invests in nor values emotional maturity.
Now that's a sentence you've got to read twice to actually think it through.
And how damning it is. Another one says, one consequence of this is that elite male players lack what might be called a worldly perspective and are perceived to be arrogant, entitled and self-centred. Many respondents put this down to players being removed from regular contact with the bulk of the ordinary cricket world, of being idolised and to the effects of enjoying relative great wealth and privilege at a young age. Now, this goes back a long way because who can forget when in 1994, Cricket Australia uncovered, after being tipped off by a few people, that Mark Waugh and Shane Warne had taken money from the. It
was 94, was it?
It was 94, right?
So that's 30 years ago.
Yeah, so John the bookie, right?
4 years ago.
Now, I know it's a different board and all this, but it speaks to culture and organisation of how they handle things, right? And a lot of these people are still around the game at the top level. They covered it up. Yeah. They fined them, but they didn't tell anyone.
No.
And for 3 years, no one knew about it until it was finally revealed. I think it was Malcolm Conn, the journalist, who won a Walkley for it, uncovered it and reported it. And there wasn't any further punishment or anything. It's just they got off with that. Yeah. Now, then there was the Shane Warne incident with the taking a prohibitive substance, where Cricket Australia were very much, he was allowed to commentate on Channel 9 during his break. So this whole
been going on for generations.
This isn't such a deeply entrenched behaviour. Otherwise, Cricket Australia, they don't listen to the fans. They don't care. Have never given a rap about the fans. The fans have been complaining about, for instance, and I know this is partly Channel 9's responsibility, but have said your commentary is rubbish.
Yeah.
They did nothing about it. They only cared about getting the money. They did not care what the pundits thought at all. They never have on a whole bunch of things. So none of this is new.
And that's one of the, I reckon, one of the feeling you could say going around the country at the moment is that this report's come out. Cricket Australia have reacted this way, but nobody seems greatly surprised by either the report or their reaction to it. It's like what would you expect? You'd expect nothing less.
You know what's bugging me about it all, though, the discussion around
What's that?
Is they're all characterising as this enormous pressure to win drove this. And I'm like, I just don't think that's the problem. The problem,
all professional sport is driven to win.
If you what are we going to say? Well, that's no longer our aim. Our aim is to win. I mean, this is. Yeah. We're not. But you can. The argument that you can only win being horrible, by being arrogant, entitled, and behaving like David Warner did. I mean, David Warner and that weren't even winning in those games. They cheated and still lost. Yeah. I mean, this is the idea that this is like purely a, of course they're meant to win. That is their number one aim. Yeah. It's just the way they went about it, and they went about it because they just got full of themselves. It's not. There's not. You don't need deep insight into this. So
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Because as you say, Peever, his position surely is virtually untenable now. How do you reckon James Sutherland will be viewed and remembered? There'd be no bloke would be happier to be out of the bloody fry pan than him.
I come back to, with Sutherland, a bit like Demetrio, that, look, on the plus side, he brought in the BBL, and that's gone very well and a few things like that. But when you look at it, the main thing these guys can he left the game in a terrible state. Yeah. And he stayed way too long. And when you look at it, like the thing these guys, and Demetrio did the same, is that you go, what's the big achievement? Oh, the TV deals.
Yeah. We brought in the big bucks.
And you go, mate, every sports body in the world has had record on record TV deals for the whole time of your tenure. It's not like it's like someone in Melbourne who bought their house 50 years ago, going, gee, I sold my house for a lot more money than of course it's a rising market. I mean, I know it's flattened a bit in Australia, but if it's like selling in a rising market, of course you're going to make more money. And so when these guys paint their vision as, I signed big TV deals, you go, well, that's not a vision. That's like a financial thing, and that that would be the bare necessity of...
You say, but mate, when you started in the job, people could only watch it on 4 channels.
Yeah.
4 TV channels, basically. One of those 4 TV channels. There was no internet. There was no cable. There was no, hundreds of channels to watch things on. The whole media, I mean, we've said this before, but the media landscape has changed so remarkably in the last 2 decades, and even more so the last 4 or 5 years, that, any idiot could have signed a big deal.
Well, the other thing is, you look at Sutherland and Pat Howard, but especially of what they've done, like domestic cricket is not in good shape. Like the Sheffield Shield is a shell of its former competition.
Of course it is.
Which is no surprise that our team is not good. It's not good on any level, even with Smith and Warner in it. The ability of batsmen to collapse, the top order to collapse in just amazing ways. Yeah. The lack of the connection from the top to the grassroots cricket.
And you speak to any of the old school, coaches and guys who've been around the game for decades, they say at a junior level and what have you, that the coaching now, they rely so heavily on bowling machines and stuff like this.
Yeah.
He said it's no great surprise that when they get out in the middle against a world-class bowler who can move it both ways or spin it both ways, blokes can't play their shots. They're no good at it.
No, it's completely. I think a lot of it is a mess, and I think a lot of the strength that they point at is not to do with their creation. Plus, they create a set of circumstances that led to the game blowing up. So you can't say they did a great job there.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's going to be very interesting. Louise Crossman wrote in, should we just replace the men's cricket team with the Australian women's team? Well, the Australian women's team, where I have issue with them is they both behave well and win a lot.
Yeah.
That's not part of the value set of Australian cricket anymore. They're an example where you can behave relatively well and still win.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about Australian elite cricketers, that's been, and most people couldn't care less about this, quite rightly, because media whinging about itself. But as far as the media is concerned, there has been no more uncooperative or group, as far as media relations is concerned, than Test cricketers, Australian Test cricketers over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
When you compare them to every other sport that A, needs the exposure, or B, just does it because it's a way of connecting with their support base or their fans, or giving airtime to their sponsors. The Australian cricketers have been woeful at that forever and a day.
Yeah.
So that's just one more level.
Yeah. Stuart Butler said, I'm interested in yours and Serge's take on the recommendations from Australian cricket, especially the key recommendation to have the Marsh brothers fill all of the first 11 positions in the Australian side.
It certainly appears that way, doesn't it?
Scott Amos wrote in, why did it take a team of cricket executives to come to a decision which me and my mates knew 5 years ago?
My mates and I. Scott.
My mates and I, sorry. Yeah.
No,
mates and I. Yes, you're correct. Yes. It's true. Me and my mates sounds way better.
It does.
It's way more Australian.
It's spoken the way it
should. This is the thing. This is like revealing the least kept secret. Someone I saw tweet to me that it's like someone did a report that found that teenagers are more likely to have unprotected sex while drunk. Someone did a report on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sort of falls into that category of report,
Yeah, a lot of
grass
research.
is green.
Yeah.
Water is wet. Tom Malloy said, should contracting collective mind be one of the recommendations of fixing Cricket Australia's arrogance issues? That's very good, Tom. I think collective mind would be perfect to sort things out.
How they're going at the moment.
They're going very well.
Do you think collective mind might institute a review of themselves?
They're doing their own session. I bet they actually do. That's what's so bad. Mike wrote in, how will we win games of cricket without calling blokes names and sandpapering our balls?
That's a good question, Mike.
That's spot on. How will we? It's terrible. Just to show that the hypocrisy doesn't end is David Warner walked off on Sunday from Western Suburbs, playing against Western Suburbs. Jason Hughes, the older brother of the late Phil Hughes, had an exchange where Hughes said to Warner, "You're a disgrace." Fairfax got this. "You're a disgrace. You shouldn't be playing cricket," which I think is a true and accurate statement of fact. Really,
I hard to disagree with that.
Candace, Warner's wife, who never really for someone who's she's never shy of talking to the media. Let's just say that he left the field because he left the field because first of all he didn't like what he was hearing and where that could have been taken. What the truth hurts. It was hurtful. It was very hurtful.
The truth hurts. That's one of your great schoolyard taunts.
Now the thing about this is David Warner. So it was a bit like there was in the test before the sandpaper test. Warner had gotten a fight because of apparent comments about his wife and family. Now, anyone else, if that was true, you would go, well, that sounds awful. But Warner has lived by the sword.
Yeah.
You can't be like him and then turn around and play the victim. This is quite amazing to me.
It's your classic. I mean, when I first heard about it on Sunday, I thought, geez, I wonder what they said. It must have been a hell of a sledge.
And people were trying to make out it was about Phil Hughes because it was his brother.
Yeah.
But no one is really come on, like Warner and that aren't willing to put that on the record and say that's what was said. The alternate version has been said and, I doubt Phil's brother's saying something using that as a
You
sledge.
wouldn't have thought so.
So unless there's other evidence that comes to light, but I mean,
the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what you're saying to Warner. As offensive or as nasty as it might be, he is the one bloke who's going to have to suck it up.
He is. That's the thing. Like,
as you say, it's by the sword.
You can't dish it out to everyone, and then
it's the old,
And this is where, to me, Warner has no leg to stand on, because Warner, all that crap about them all being sorry for what they did.
Yeah.
Well, if you're so sorry, come clean on, was it the first time you did it? Who bought the sandpaper along? Yeah, tell the truth. You want us to forgive you, and they go, oh, we're very, the Cricket Association said of Warner and Bancroft and Smith, these guys have been publicly humiliated. And it's like, well, hang on, we didn't just randomly decide to, humiliate someone. They did something incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
And then they've not told the full truth about what went on.
Yeah.
Warner denied it at first.
Yeah.
Smith tried to cover for Bancroft and lied to the match review thing. So it's not like these guys were just did something to him straight away, went, this was what happened. You got us dead to rights. We shouldn't have, here's how all that happened. They've not told anyone. The public has no idea of.
Yeah, we still don't know what really happened.
We don't. They have not answered the question. And if they want forgiveness, or they want to play the victim, well, come clean on a few things first before you start sooking to everyone. Tim Wilson said, is David Warner walking off because of sledging the most ironic thing to happen in Australian sport?
It's certainly up there.
It's right up there when Warney said that the ball tampering thing, he said, this wouldn't happen on my watch if I was in the team. Yeah, okay, Warney.
Yeah, righto.
Tell us, would anyone have taken money from a bookie? Taken a illicit substance? Too Long in the Bush said, will David Warner have to leave the field whenever he gets heckled by the punters this summer so as not to escalate?
Well, that was the other thing. It was Candace, his wife, was intimated that, he made the responsible decision to walk off, say this thing didn't get out of hand. It's like, what Warner's going to, he's going to belt Julian Hughes with his bat. Was it going to turn into an all-in?
Oh, David Warner, always the cool head in a situation.
Exactly, And this is just what shows his new level of responsibility, that he didn't lash out verbally or physically.
Angus McCallum is probably his question probably sums up, Serge, something you've said often.
Yeah.
Has anyone played more cricket during a cricket ban than David Warner?
No, it's a fair call. It's a fair question. He was banned for 12 months.
He's played in the Northern Territory,
I don't reckon
Canada.
He's put his bat down since he was suspended.
Aaron Bevan said, is David Warner noted in the score sheet as retired hurt, brackets, feelings?
I like that, Aaron. That's very clever.
Hurt feelings. With cricket on a downward spiral and in real trouble, one thing you have to say is Rob Marsh is here with the answers.
This to my attention. Yes, I thought, this can't be true.
No, Rob Marsh has come out with the way to save all of this, and he said he's promoting a book about his first 50 years in first class cricket, in which he takes a swipe at society's values, saying that we've lost the true meaning of respect. So there you go. Yeah. But more importantly, his way to save Test cricket is free entry and free booze.
There you go.
Not an economist rod here in charging free entry.
But he has put in, to be fair, he has put a bit of a limit on it.
Well, he does say, I'd let everyone in for free to start with, and I'd get a brewery sponsorship and give people beer coupons. Everyone can get 3 mid-strength beer vouchers, and in India, I'd feed them as well.
Oh, would you, Marshy?
It's not going to cost much to give them a bit of bread and curry, and the game has heaps of money over there.
Well, the game does have heaps of money in India. We're not going to argue with that.
Come get a feed.
But I like this. I'd give people beer coupons, which within day 2 of this, they'd be currency like cigarettes in a prison.
Ted Richards, who played for the Swans, he texted in response. I tweeted this out, and he said to me in response, he said, Rod Marsh wants to make cricket like a Mad Monday, and he said, as someone who played cricket on a Mad Monday, these escalate. And he had pictures of the Swans on their Mad Monday playing indoor cricket in a pub. It was great. I just love that so much about just in India, he's giving bread and curry.
Bread and curry.
His deep knowledge of their culture. I'm assuming it's naan bread.
And he would have spent plenty of time in India. I think he coached in India for a while.
I know, it's so good. Do you think this is what we're crying out for? Do you think this is the solution?
I think this will solve everything. I'd like to see free beer coupons at board level. At Cricket Australia board level.
I'm a bit upset it's mid-strength.
Yeah, what?
There's a great that great documentary, Cricket in the 70s, the ABC did a while ago. There's great footage of that, of when Cricket Australia, or it was Australian Cricket Board at the time, brought in a limit on bring your own beer, because you used to be able to bring whatever you want, and they limited it to one slab per person. And now we're talking how we've gone from unlimited BYO to one slab per person to now he's talking about 3 vouchers for mid-strength beer.
Then there's a great photo too from the old, I think, the Herald newspaper in Melbourne, when they changed it. They were banning the bringing of eskies into grounds because people were filling them with ice and dozens of cans.
Yeah.
But the main reason people were arguing against this new rule was you couldn't use them to stand on.
Right.
So because people were using them to see over the crowd in the standing room section.
Yeah.
As well as bringing in 58 cans of full-strength beer and plenty of ice.
Gareth Olver points out in response to Rod, in fairness, watching the Australian cricket team does drive people to drink.
Well, of course it does. And
not mid-strength, though.
No. And look, everyone loves having a beer when you go to the cricket. It's part of the experience. And
it's great to get the kids involved.
Yeah.
Give the kids a few UDL vouchers.
Yeah.
Just get them in.
Get a bit of your Bacardi breezes.
Yeah, just get them into drinking. Now, moving away from cricket, the train wreck that is cricket, to the train wreck that is St Kilda, they've announced they're going to replace the Gold Coast in China for the game against Port Adelaide. They've called it a huge off-field coup. Would you describe? Should you be using coup and China? They get a bit sensitive if you start talking about coups. It's going to be in Shanghai again. It's going to be round 11 on Sunday, June the 2nd. St Kilda's going to wear their home strip, so there's not any of the issues
they had with the Gold Coast.
With the Gold Coast,
still a bit of red in there.
It says here in the press release, the first Victorian team to play for premiership points in China.
Oh, there you go.
That's good. St Kilda the first in Victoria or something. And it's a 3-year deal. And it's going to the real kicker of why they're doing this is going to earn them $2 million across those 3 years.
Yeah.
Plus whatever they can get out of sort of deals out of China or something
and stuff like that.
So is this the move that's going to set the St Kilda back on the?
Well, you can see why Dan Hanbury wanted to get wanted to get out of Sydney.
And go to St Kilda.
Go to the Saints. I'll be playing Port in Jingwon.
Well, did you see that the Saints have also, as well as signing this, they've signed Gubby Allen?
Yeah, there you go.
So they've got Lethlean and Gubby Allen.
Oh, you don't want to cast any aspersions.
No, except for the facts that we're aware of and publicly stated.
Yeah, it's just I don't want to make any great assumptions here, but I reckon a St Kilda scandal could be the subject of your next book.
Do you think they're rebuilding for scandal? That's what they're actually rebuilding for.
They've rebuilt the Saints disco, I think so.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, well, a room that would accommodate it.
You can't go back, Serge.
No,
it won't be the same.
No.
Now, you are the best person. The AFL announced a few of the round 1 AFL games. So the Richmond Carlton kick it off again.
Yep.
And the first round. Looks like we're going to have a lot more Thursday night games as well. But the other one they have announced in full, because it starts before that, is the AFLW fixture. Now, you're the best man to explain this.
We've had a couple of people suggested I did.
The AFL come with a very simple structure.
Yeah. Well,
for a 10-team competition.
So you tweeted that the AFL have overcomplicated this, and the implication there being that was a criticism. So this is where I think you're wrong for possibly the first time ever. I don't think they've made it complicated enough.
Oh, really? You think so? The two conferences
I will ask you in all seriousness, why does a 10-team, 7-round competition need 2 conferences?
Well, what I am hoping happens is they name the conferences.
That's
like in the NHL, they used to have the conferences. Now they're just called the Western and Eastern, and they have the North. But it used to be they were named after famous people.
Oh, right.
And I think there'd be nothing more AFL than to name the conferences after men.
I was about to say, we'll have the Kazali conference.
Well, I was more thinking
and the Barassi conference.
I was more thinking the Carey conference. It's a good start.
Yeah, and they'll announce it in the Shannon Grant room, you know.
They're playing for the Shannon Grant Cup. That's what I half expected.
And the best player gets the Justin Murphy medal.
There's so many to choose from of just terrible blokes.
Of blokes who are
horrible blokes.
I mean, we're not joking about domestic violence.
No, we're joking about how
shocking these blokes
are and how many of them keep being put up and venerated.
Look, I mean, I think your idea that they name the conferences after men is extremely funny, but you don't honestly think they would. Although knowing the AFL, I don't reckon they'd get it. You know, if you'd say, I don't know, look, fair enough, maybe AFL women's footy doesn't have the history where there's 2 obvious women who should be the conference.
Well, there are a few, though, like Debbie Lee and a few other female players who are real pioneers for it.
Yeah.
Most likely they'll name it because Gillen started the league, it'll become the Gillen-McLaughlin Premiership or something.
Which it probably wouldn't be fine, but if that happened down the track, but surely not now.
You can't,
all the conferences.
I like how we're debating seriously a hypothetical joke, but at the same time, it's not that far from reality that could actually be true.
That's what I'm asking you. Surely they wouldn't. And then the more you think about it,
you're all confident, and then you're like,
You know what? It just wouldn't put it past them.
Peter Jess, who's a player agent.
No, it should be named the Peter Jess Cup.
The Peter Jess Cup. He's come out and said concussion in female football players will create an intergenerational nightmare of mothers not remembering their children's name and forgetting to pick them up from school.
I read this the other day. I read this. I had one of those sort of sleepless nights where I woke up and and I had a look at my phone about 3 a.m. and I read this quote, and it was 3 a.m. and I nearly rang you at 3 a.m. just to say, have you seen the Peter Jess? This is a cracker.
Now, the thing when I read this, personally, I have no problem with people bringing up, injuries in the female game and the male game, and it should be stat-based, right? And I haven't seen yet, and even the articles I've read weren't too clear yet because the data sample with women isn't that big on are concussions a disproportionate occurring in a disproportionate way. Now, we know some injuries seem to happen to the women more than the men and all that. But
knee injuries, anecdotally, it seems to have been.
Yeah, the data set's still pretty early on, and a lot of the women aren't getting the training and stuff or the fitness level that the professional men. So you're not always comparing like with like. So the idea, though, raising potential issue like this in terms of just, should we be watching concussion in women? Because concussion in men's terrible too, right? Yeah. So you don't want that to happen. It's about player safety. That's a reasonable debate. Now, if the data shows that it's happening to women more, then yes, that's not a sexist approach to tackle that. But I haven't seen any data that yet suggests that, right? So he could be right or wrong on that point. Adding in not remembering their children's name and forgetting to pick them up from school just is like a completely like what we don't worry about the men not forgetting their.
It's a big leap.
It's a big leap. They might not remember their favourite recipes or where the mop's kept. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. At least, the men can not remember bin night.
It's just bizarre to me that he's sort of gone down that path.
That's what's great about it is, okay, you can have this, as you say, concern that perhaps, women
or player safety, regardless of male or female. It doesn't
matter, whatever. But to immediately take that leap, I like not just their names, forget to pick them up from school.
It's like, where's your mum? Oh, she's a football player, so she's probably forgotten. She played a bit of footy in her youth.
You know, 25 past 3.
So, it's just, there's just kids after school, like, for months just sitting there going, why can't I go? Where's mum? So the whole thing is, the thing about this is, where he's sort of battling a headwind is, if you look at the history of women's sport, it has been a history of men, often doctors, coming out and saying, go back to, ancient times really, but, definitely in the modern and back into the last century, saying basically at first it was, if women run or break into a sweat, they'll die.
Yeah.
If they do any physical contact sport, they'll die. So there's always been this thing of, women are weaker than men and can't do anything.
And susceptible to catastrophic.
And at first it was really ridiculous things like running or sweating.
Yeah.
And then it's slowly built up to we kind of go, oh, I guess they can run. I guess they can sweat. And then something go, oh, they can tackle. Like it's built up to, it's consistently whoever has said those things has been proven quite wrong.
Yeah.
Now, why can't women, once the risks are articulated, if women want to play a contact sport, men are allowed to play a contact sport, and the risks going in of it.
You take your chances.
The risks aren't super high, but the odds of doing a knee are there. But that's up for women to choose, surely.
I mean, I'd be happy to forget to pick the kids up from school most days.
I didn't realise you could blame a previous concussion, a previous footballing career.
Yes.
So it's sort of a bit of a. I think he's about it. That said, if it's my problem is it's never done with here's the data that shows this is the problem.
Yeah.
It's always like a bit of an inference, and that's where it comes in.
And what's funny about this is just his inflammatory language. It's going to create an intergenerational nightmare of mothers. I mean, that just sounds like a tagline for a John Carpenter film.
The NFL went over and played a game in London recently.
They do that fairly regularly. I think every season there's a game or two over there.
One of the early ones. And the Jacksonville Jaguars took on the Philadelphia Eagles at Wembley, of all places.
And if you saw this morning, the next English Premier League game at Wembley's on tonight, and everyone's very upset with the condition of the ground.
Yeah, because it's still got the NFL logo on it, and it's all...
And the 10...
all ripped up
10 metre marks
and it's all ripped up.
And all the sideline where the NFL,
it's like ANZ Stadium.
Yeah.
So after the game, 4 Jacksonville Jaguar players were arrested after the game for trying to leave a London nightclub without paying the bar bill. Police were called at, it was 3:55 in the morning, so really Sunday morning.
And this is before the game too.
Was it?
It wasn't the night before, it was 3 nights before the game.
So this 3 nights before. So then it'd been reported that club security stopped them leaving after they failed to settle a tab worth £50,000, which has got to be about 90 grand Aussie.
About $90,000.
Even you're shocked by that.
Even I'm shocked by
that's a lot of buckets of Coronas.
Well, when I first heard the story, it was before they said what the bar bill was worth, and I'm thinking, well, everyone's done a runner from a bar late at night. Oh,
I think you've just outed yourself.
I'm just assuming most people have.
I've always settled up. I don't, because I want to be able to go back to that. I never want to be barred from a bar.
Well, I remember when I was at uni, we used to often do a runner from. Remember those sort of fast food joints in Swanston Street in Melbourne?
Yeah.
That they'd be dotted all the way out to RMIT. The little ones that have the tables attached to the side walls with those little miniature jukebox things.
Are you sure this isn't Happy Days? Is this what you remember your youth as you were the Fonz?
Yeah. I like to remember myself as the Fonz. I was more like Ralph Malph.
So apparently they then got taken to the police station for questioning. They were released without a further action after the bill was apparently settled. What I like about this is they weren't named who the players were, and the club said that any punishment would be handled internally.
Yeah.
There's transparency for you. Cricket Australia wish they could have done that.
The names did come out afterwards, and they interviewed a couple of witnesses to this thing when the players tried to leave.
Yeah.
And they said they squared off with the security guys. They said, because these are NFL players.
Yeah.
He said it was like King Kong versus Godzilla.
Right.
The 4 big security guys and 4 NFL like linemen.
Yeah.
It was never going to be pretty if it had gone on. But they were saying, because I was wondering, I think, okay, they've got plenty of dough to spend, these boys, but how do you spend $90,000 in one night in a bar?
Yeah.
And they're ordering $900 bottles of champagne and $800 bottles of vodka, and they just all kept bringing them out. And of course, they had a bit of an entourage with them.
Right.
But it's still a fair night out, you'd have to say.
Oh,
$90,000.
It's a lot. Like we're saying, we'll just stick to the buckets of Coronas. Never done anyone wrong.
You know, 4 pots, 4 schooners. You know.
Getting to some general listeners' questions, Grant Searmans wrote in, if nothing sticks to Teflon, how do they stick Teflon to the pan?
It's an old question, this, Grant, but it's one that nobody's adequately answered, I think.
Magic.
It is. It's magic.
It's just pure magic. It's proved that it's right. The last question, probably one of my favourite ones at the moment, is Frank Cavallaro wrote in, is Planet of the Apes real?
Hey, Frank, you've...
I could answer that.
Yeah, well, I'll leave this one to you then.
Not yet, Frank. But it will be. The way things are going.
Yeah. And the final scene in the movie, he'll come over the hill and there'll be the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
The Sydney Opera House with the Everest written on the side. You got to say, the way things are going, Planet of the Apes is looking like a positive outcome for this
I was about to say,
world.
I mean, you're implying that it probably will happen. I'm saying, could that be the worst thing that ever happened?
No, I think it's looking better. Now, we're going to give away this T-shirt. Were you thinking Aaron Bevan for his David Warner retired hurt with feelings?
It's very clever.
We'll give it to Aaron there.
Give it to Aaron.
And we will see you next week.